Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Blessed be the great King Yehoshua, creator of heaven and the earth. And unto him and him alone do we give glory. We all must say hallelujah. Hallelujah. May be seated. Thanking the creator for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Food, clothing, and shelter. We're thankful to this great King for our lives. And we're thankful to this great King for everything that he does for us. He provides for us in life. And we're thankful, and we pray that the Most High God will continue to be with Yisrael scattered in the four corners of the earth. The Most High God will protect us, guide us, and keep us. That the Most High God would even hear our prayers and our supplications, that God would even look over us and guide our thoughts and guide our paths. It's important in these days and times because we see what's happening in the world. And we see the judgment of the Creator on a daily basis. One event can't go by before another one comes right behind it, so you know that the time is speeding up. And that we have to get closer to this great King. What was it, Hurricane Michael? Man put names on it. You know, because that's the way they do with hurricanes. They categories and names so that they could, because this is hurricane season. But the earth is beginning to react to what mankind has done to it. Because you see, the Most High put everything in a pattern. Things work a certain way, right? The earth revolves around the sun. That's how it goes. Revolves around the sun. It rotates on its axis. The moon revolves around the earth. And all this is a cycle that goes around 365 days in a year, or 364 and some hours, however they do it. But it's an exact science, and God set that up there. But when in the past 100 years, as the Industrial Revolution and man finding out about fossil fuel, we've began to destroy the earth that the Most High God gave us. Because of man's greed and expansion, you begin to cut down the rainforest. We begin to destroy what God gave us to survive. Now, if you learn anything from science, you learn that the trees are what of the earth? The oxygen for the world. The lungs, the lungs of the world. That's right. Without trees, we don't get air. No. Because the trees is what grabs the CO2, the carbon dioxide, right? And grabs it and go through this photosynthesis and, you know, how we learned in science, and allows us to breathe. But if you're cutting down the lungs from the earth, what do you think is going to happen eventually? They're talking about the coral reefs in the ocean. That's what helps the sea animals to breathe. But the coral reefs are getting destroyed because of what humanity and what humankind has done to the ocean. So now you get on the coast of Florida, you get dolphins and all types of fish floating up because of what we're doing to it. And they saying that we're causing a greenhouse effect on the earth. Now, I hope we do remember what a greenhouse is. Everybody should have had one like in elementary school. You know, they used to grow little plants in there. They tell you to bring a bean and you put it in there, and even in the wintertime, it grows because it's heated, and, you know, this was the greenhouse. So now, because there's so much emission of CO2, the earth, the heat just stays on the earth. And it heats up the earth. So now you get like the ice caps and the North Pole are beginning to melt. The sea levels are beginning to rise. The oceans are too hot or too heated. So once you get that combination of the hot ocean and cold air, that creates hurricanes. But not just a common hurricane. You getting hurricanes that are beginning to destroy coastal areas. When I looked at Panama City, Florida, it looked like a bomb had dropped there. They got Mexico Beach, Florida. It looked like a bomb dropped there. God is showing us his disappointment with mankind. Just like in the time of Noah. And the Most High God will send something like water that for most intent and purposes, water is something that nourishes. Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
We need water. But water can also destroy. And those of us that own homes, if you ever had a pipe bust or you ever had something back up, you see what water does. So this is a God that we don't play with.
That's right.
We can't play with this God. Because those people have been living in those coastal areas for decades. You know, they get their little winds, they get their little storms, but guess what? It's not this bad. This is something that came off, and because you see what happens is man proposes things, but God disposes of them. You see, the previous hurricane, it did some damage, but it didn't do damage like this one. This one looked a little bit worse than what I seen previously. Because when you think you're going to prepare for it, you can't prepare for it. How you going to say you're going to prepare for God? How you prepare for God when God is ready to judge you? How you go? When God is saying, all right, it's time for judgment, you can't say, hold on, God, hold on for a second. Give me 1 minute, hold on. You know, like how you used to do to your prayer. Hold on, man, hold on. You grab the bell, hold on, man, hold on. You know, don't hit me yet, hold on. Can't do that with God. Ain't no holding on. Ain't no people. None of that. I heard one man said it was the worst 3 hours of my life. He said, I was saying to myself, I'm going to die in here, and I caused my wife to die. Because obviously his wife said, I think it's time to go, honey. Nah, we're going to ride it out, baby. You know, we've been living here for years. So he's on the TV talking about, I want to tell all my kids that I'm fine. Doing well. Me and mommy is over here and we doing well. And she's to the side like this. Sometimes you got to listen to your wife. And the dog, that's what he said, mom and the dog is fine. But we see the power of the creator of heaven and earth. We see his strength. We can't play with the creator. Because he's the God that will destroy us. In an instance. They said in one of the trailer homes that a piece of debris came projecting through it and killed a 6-year-old boy or girl, whatever it was. You don't see that coming. You don't see a piece of metal coming through a home and killing you. You don't see that. He take them from the hoary head to the cradle. And who could stop him? That's the God we serve. So our prayers go out to all those people, because you see, we're not the type of people that look like there's a lot of Caucasians down there. So maybe, but no, that's not the God that we serve. Because like I read last week, he said at the end, it should be a house of prayer for all people. So we got to pray for all people. And we have to be, when you said you godly, you have to show godliness. So our hearts and our condolences go out to all those people down there in those coastal areas, regardless of how they look. And we hope and pray that the Most High God will ease their pain. That the Most High God will bring them peace even in this time of destruction. Yahweh is great. Hallelujah. Let us move to the portion of Noah. I got some new glasses, doctor. Well, how do you call it, doctor? Ophthalmologist? Yes. Ophthalmologist. Right. She told me, black lady too, black young sister. She said, you don't gotta wear glasses. She said, you got almost 20/20. But she said, you just gotta put these on when you read. That's what she told me. So.
She lied.
No. She didn't lie. She gave me the right prescription. Last time I seen a doctor from the other, persuasion, and he told me I gotta wear them all. She said, no, you don't gotta wear them all the time. She said, you can see fine. Like I could see back there, it says Studio B. That looks clear. But just up here, when I'm up here, everything looks like a blur. But when I put these on, boom, they jump out. So I'm thankful to this great King. Let us go. Now, I got some paperwork here. You know I always come with paperwork. I can't match up the 600 slides. So, and Maury Yiftach did an excellent job the last time he came up here, so I got to step up my slide game. And I hear Chief Benjamin back there.
He late, but he here.
He late, but he here?
Yeah, he late.
All right, so I don't know who wants to. You want one of these, or you fine with the one on your phone, man? I only got like 4 copies of what I'm gonna do today, so whoever wants it, you can pass it around back there. And this is from last week. I told y'all I had it for Daniel, so whoever wants that, you can put it right here. I'll give you my copy when I'm done, Ima. I'll give you my copy.
Let's sit down for 2 hours.
That's from Daniel. So let us go to Noah.
We're in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, starting at verse 9. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
These are the generations of Noah. Noah was in his generations a man righteous and wholehearted. Noah walked with God.
Noah walked with God.
And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way upon the earth.
So now I got a paper. If you look in the midst of all that, I got like a single sheet with the generations from Adam to Abraham. Did I give you one of those, bro? I don't think I did. Let me see. You've met one of those. Chief Met. I think you might know this. So we see that we're up to Noah, right? Noah and Shem. We see that we started from Adam, or when Chief Benjamin spoke last week, he spoke about Adam in the beginning and the formation or the creation of the earth. And now we're all the way up, about halfway up through this chart right here. We're up to Noah. So God wasn't happy with the earth, and at this point, the Most High God seen that the earth became corrupt and that mankind was doing what they wanted to do. Okay. Like I said, like we do today. We do what we want to do. We walk in the path that we want to walk. So now God has to judge the evil that's being done. It's just as simple as that. You do evil and there's going to be a judgment. That's it. When you do evil, there's going to be a judgment. When you do wrong, don't your parents correct you? That's right. There is a punishment for doing something wrong. That's right. Now, what that punishment may be is it depends on how your parents feel at that time. Whether it's a makkah, whether you're going to stand on the corner and look at the wall for 2 hours, or whether you're going to go sit down in your room and do nothing but just think for about a week. You get punishments like that. Oh no, go sit in your room, give me all the game, unplug the TV, give me your phone, just sit there for about a week and think about what you did. So now God has to judge. Something has to happen. Let us go.
And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me. For the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. With broom shalt thou make the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. Okay. And this is how thou shalt make it. The length of the ark 300 cubits, The breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. A light shalt thou make to the ark, and to a cubit shalt thou finish it upward. And the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof. With lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. And I, behold, I do bring the flood of waters upon the earth, to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven. Everything that is in the earth shall perish. But I will establish my covenant with thee. And thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark. To keep them alive with thee, they shall be male and female. Of the fowl after their kind, and of the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing of the ground after its kind, 2 of every sort shalt thou come unto thee to keep them alive. And take thou unto thee all the food that is eaten, and gather it to thee, and it shall be for food for thee and for them. Thus did Noah according to all that God commanded him, so did he.
He's going to do a lot more reading than me talking, because this is a long portion. And I'm not trying to keep you all past too. So, here we go. So Noah means rest, Shem means name, Ham means hot, Yafet means open. Go for wood. I got some examples of how go for wood looks up there. And then it says the length of the ark is
300 cubits long. 1 cubit is 18 inches long.
So this is according to a cubit could go anywhere from 18 to 21 inches long, right? So you could do your own estimation as to what you want this cubit to be. But this is, I use 18 inches as the basis of my measurement of the ark. Let us go.
18 by 300 equals 5,400 inches. 5,400 divided by 12 equals 450 feet. 150 yards, basically.
Right.
The length of the ark was equivalent to 1 full-length football field and the half of another.
So because every yard is how many feet? 3 feet, right? So a football field and a half, if we go according to an 18-inch measurement of a cubit, it's the length of the ark. Continue, my brother.
The width of the ark is 50 cubits wide. 50 by 18 equals 900 inches. 900 divided by 12 equals 75 feet or 25 yards. 25 yards. So that's like the quarter of a football field. About where most of the, when you down the ball in the end zone, that's where they bring you out to almost. Let's go. The height of the ark is 30 cubits high. 18 by 30 equals 540. 540 divided by 12 equals 45 feet or 15 yards. The ark was about 3 stories high.
3 stories high, right? Yeah. Give or take an inch here or there or whatever. So we see it's made out of gopher wood. It's made out of 3 decks. If you see the picture that I put up there, this is in Kentucky. And I believe in 2016, somebody did a replica of the ark, and this is most likely how it would look. That's the picture to your left. And then the inside of the ark is someone made like a computer graphic design of how it would look on the inside with the 3 decks. So basically, this is how the ark would look. And like Chief Benjamin said last week, all the animals that we see today did not exist back there. There was maybe the origin of that animal, the cat, you know, of the canine, of this and the other, because all those animals could not possibly fit. The animals that we see today could not possibly fit there. So the father of the dares, or whatever it might be, bovine animals, or whatever animals it might be, those were the original animals that were there. Now we could talk about dinosaurs another time, because we got some brothers. My brother right here, we get into this argument every year. He believed that dinosaurs is something that was manufactured by
white men.
We have fun having that argument every year. I don't know. I feel like he wins every year.
That's right.
Because he just, you know, it's something. I don't know why I feel like he wins. But we have this argument every year. So we see what's going on. The Most High God told Noah and his sons to build his ark, bring your wives in it. Because God is going to destroy all flesh because of the wickedness and the evil that they have been doing. So we have to be aware of the things that we do. Because at some point, God will get fed up with us and take us out of here. It's as simple as that. It's not fear mongers. Some people say, oh, y'all guys are fear mongers. You guys are always talking. No, we telling you right from wrong. We're trying to teach you what's right so that you can live right. If you do that which is right, then you don't have to worry about us telling you about the punishment that God might have in store for you. But we have a merciful God.
That's right.
And he allows us to repent. Let us go.
Chapter 7. And Jehovah said unto Noah, come down all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast shalt thou take to thee 7 and 7, each with his mate. And of the beasts that are not clean, 2 and 2, each with his mate.
So they understood the difference between clean and unclean beasts.
That's right. That's right.
Everybody knows that a pig is a pig in any generation because he's nasty. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's so nasty. When you say the word pig in Spanish, one of the words for pig is, the official word is cerdo, but they could call him cochino.
Yeah, exactly.
Cochino or puerco. Cochino also means nasty in Spanish.
That's right. That's right. That's what they call that guy.
Because he's nasty.
Nasty, yeah.
Let us go.
Of the fowl also of the air, 7 and 7, male and female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance that I have made will I blot out from off the face of the earth.
So Noah already, he built this ark.
Yeah.
And now God has given him the instruction as to what's going to happen after this ark is built and all these animals come into it. How did the animals get to the ark? God sent them there. Let's go.
And Noah did according to all that Jehovah commanded him.
And Noah did all according as Jehovah had commanded him. Yes, the lion didn't go into his natural instinct of try to eat the dead.
Right.
This was something that was already understood.
Right.
Yeah, that's the God that we serve. Just like you can have a cat and a dog in the house. But they're natural enemies. They're natural enemies. But what happens when God said he will give us dominion over the animals, and you can have a cat and you can have a pit bull as a pet? And it won't kill it. The pit bull won't kill it. But if he goes into his natural instinct, the pit bull won't kill him. Let us go.
And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the face of the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him, into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Of clean beasts, and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of everything that creepeth upon the ground. They went in 2 and 2 unto Noah into the ark, male and female, as God commanded.
They were all paired up, a male and a female.
Right.
If it was 2 and 2, there were 4 of them. If it was 7 and 7, it was 14 of them.
Right.
Let us go.
Verse 10. And it came to pass after the 7 days, that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, on the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken, and the windows of heaven were opened. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights.
Now remember when Chief Benjamin spoke about the earth being created, and he separated the waters from the waters. And then he gathered all the waters together, and then came up the dry ground. Right? Underneath that earth is still water. Don't they have springs of water? It said the fountains of the spring. It said all that broke forward. Right? And the fountains from underneath came from underneath the earth.
Right.
So now there's a theory, right? Anybody know about Pangea? What's Pangea? One what? One continent. Right? And there was one ocean, one big ocean. Right? And what they're saying is that during this time, it's when the continental drift began, because it broke I hope I'm saying it right, the tectonic plate.
Yes, indeed.
It broke it into the continents, right? So now that's where you get the Americas drift off, right? And the little separate little islands, they break off. But now if you take the earth and all the different continents and you bring them back together, they fit together like a puzzle. So this is where the whole Pangea and the continental drift, comes from, that they're talking about. They said it's a theory, but a theory is an educated guess, right? So when you look at this, you can see where the fountains of the deep broke and the earth probably started breaking into pieces. Now, you got about 25 different people around the earth. In the Americas, the Aztecs, the Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, they all have a flood story. They call it the flood myth. It can't be a myth if 25 different people are saying in their history that this happened. That means that when Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth got off, that they passed those stories on to their children. And somehow, as it got passed on and passed on and passed on, the story might have got changed a little bit here, it got changed a little bit here, but something did happen. Our God is not a liar. There's a lot of scientific proof to show that something like this happened. Let us go.
Verse 13. In the self-same day entered Noach and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noach and Noach's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. They and every beast after its kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after its kind, and every fowl after its kind, every bird of every sort. And they went in unto Noach into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God commanded him, and Jehovah shut him in.
Shut him in. Let's go. So God closed the door of the ark. Let's go.
And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bore up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth. And the waters prevailed and increased greatly upon the earth. And the ark went up upon the face of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth. And all the high mountains that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. And all flesh perished that moved upon the earth, both fowl and cattle and beasts, and every swarming thing that swarmeth upon the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of the spirit of life, whatsoever was in the dry land died. And he blotted out every living substance which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle and creeping thing and fowl of the heaven, and they were blotted out from the earth. And Noach only was left, and they that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days.
So the Most High brought the deluge on the earth.
Right.
Not just a common rain, there's a bunch of rain.
Yeah.
Now, we seen some rain come down this week, and we was like, goodness, this is blinding rain. You can't even drive. Now, imagine raining for 40 days straight. The foundations of the earth start bringing up, gushing up water. Noah! Noah! Open this ark up!
Let me in.
Noah! You think that wasn't happening? You think people wasn't trying to build something to try to get to the top of the ark and all types of stuff going on? Noah, don't do me like this, Noah. That's what people was. But they did not take heed to what the Most High God was saying.
Right.
So therefore, the lessons that we learn from this history is that we have to pay attention to what God tells us. And we have to walk in the path that the Most High God has left for us here on record to do. The earth got destroyed because of the evil that the people were doing. Not the animals. Not the animals had to pay for what everybody else did. But we were the ones that corrupted the earth. Let us go.
Chapter 8, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountain also of the deep and the windows of heaven would stop, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of 150 days, the waters decreased. And the ark rested in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat.
Now, Ararat today, what they got is Ararat is somewhere in the region of Turkey. Those are, I believe they said it's about 26, but don't quote me on this. You could do the research. I think about 26,000 feet above sea level. I know that the highest mountain range is Everest, right? That's over 29,000. But just imagine that if Everest was the tallest mountain, let's say per se that was the tallest mountain back then, the waters of the deep were 15 cubits higher than that mountain. That's how high they were. They was out there. You're up there, you could barely breathe. You see the people who go try to climb Mount Everest, some of them die. They don't even make it back down. No, nobody bringing you back down. If you go up there and you die, you're on your own. You're like a monument up there. Because nobody could bring you back. There's no bringing you back down. No helicopters go up there to go get you. You got to prepare yourself to go do that. Right? You got to be able to eat little rations, because as soon as you take food out, it freezes. That's what happens. You got to cook up little bits of oatmeal and what do you call that stuff that they substitute for rice? Like, couscous. You got to cook that and eat that in little small portions. That's the risk you take. Well, they were all the way up there, and God was the one that was protecting them. God was the one that caused them to be able to breathe up there. God was the one that protected Noah and his family, because they needed to replenish the earth. Let us go.
Verse 5. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen.
The tops of the mountains were seen. So now the water is starting to come back. Everything is drying out, but it's still not there. The ark stopped at the top of the mountain, but you still got all this water below the mountains. Let's go.
And it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noach opened the window of the ark which he had made, and he sent forth a raven, and it went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. And he sent forth the dove from him to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned unto him to the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. And he put forth his hand and took her and brought her in unto him into the ark.
So the dove found no rest. The dove came back. So there ain't nowhere, no trees for me to land on. There's nowhere for me to it was just water. It was just water. So the dove came back. Let's go.
And he stayed yet other 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came into him at eventide, and lo, in her mouth an olive leaf freshly plucked. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth.
So today the dove with the olive leaf is a symbol of peace. Right? And it's symbolic of what's happening at this time. There's some peace on the earth, because the Most High God brought peace to Noah and his family. And he brought tranquility to the whole earth, because now all flesh have been destroyed. So now there's some tranquility, because now we press the reset button. Now we set the reset button because you guys didn't know how to act. So now we're going to start this from the beginning with Noah and his family, and perhaps you would carry yourself in a righteous manner. Let us go.
And he stayed yet other 7 days and sent forth the dove, and she returned not again unto him anymore.
She was gone. That's it. That's it, Noah. I'm out of here. Let's go.
And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noach removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry.
Face of the ground was dry. Let's go.
And in the second month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, was the earth dry.
The earth was dry. Let's go.
And God spoke unto Noach, saying, Go forth from the ark, thou and thy wife and thy sons wives with thee. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee of all flesh, both fowl and cattle, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may swarm in the earth and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth.
You know, Noah brought seeds of his favorite food and all this stuff, because they were vegetarians at that prior to the flood. They were vegetarians, so he had to bring all the food that he needed to eat, all the fruits, all the dried fruits, and his favorite, whatever he had, he brought that in, because now the earth is going to be regenerated, and him and his sons had to be the people that regenerated the earth. Let us go.
And Noach went forth, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him, every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl whatsoever moveth upon the earth, after their families went forth out of the ark.
Went out of the ark. Let's go.
And Noach builded an altar unto Jehovah, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And Jehovah smelled the sweet savor, and Jehovah said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease.
Shall not cease. So now what we see here is the respect and the honor of the Creator. First thing Noah did, and I always said to myself when I used to read the portion, why Noah offering up anything if you got to regenerate the earth? Right. But you think them animals were stopping from reproducing while they was on that ark? That was over a year in there. Right. Animals gonna do what animals do. Right. So it was babies being born in there. There was all types of stuff happening in here. Right? So when Noah came out, he was happy that him and his family survived. So they offered up to God. He offered up to God to show the Most High God that I'm grateful for what you've done to me and to my family. That's right. That we survived. We have to be grateful to God. That's right. When good things happen to us in our lives, we have to acknowledge the greatness of this great King. We have to acknowledge it. And that's what Noah is doing at this time. It says right here, while the earth remaineth, seed time, harvest, cold and heat, summer, winter, day and night shall not cease. So God said, I will no longer destroy the earth this way anymore. This stuff shall not cease from me. I will not destroy the earth this way anymore. Let us go.
Chapter 9. And God blessed Noach and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth.
Replenish it. Let's go.
And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, and upon all wherewith the ground teemeth, and upon all the fish of the sea.
I be seeing people in the sea with sharks. I'll never do it.
That could be easy.
But they down there, it used to be Jacques Cousteau at first, right? Well, what's the name of National Geographics? Now he got like his grandson doing it. The Most High God gave us dominion over the animals. You see people that tame wild animals, lions. You got people that go into the sea and grab gators. What was the name of the guy? The guy who used to go in there? Steve, yeah, that guy. He went in there, he was fighting with a gator or something. The stingray pierced him in his heart and killed him. And they got video of that. They just never put it out. But they got video of him dying with the stingray piercing his heart. But you got circus, where you got people that tame lions and tigers, that train elephants. You had ancient societies that used to take wild elephants to war. God gave us dominion over all that. He showed us how to dominate them, although they could crush us when they see us. With one bite, with one claw, a lion will take your head off your shoulders. A lion will do that. With one claw, with one paw, he goes, bah! And your head will be off your shoulders. Or he'll break your neck, one or the other. I'm telling you. But God gave us dominion over them. Right. To the point that you got some tribes in Africa, when they walking past, the lion go this way. That's dominion.
That's right.
That means the animal has a memory that don't mess with them, because they'll kill you. So God gave us that over the animals and over the sea creatures and stuff. But then you get some that go rogue. You mess around with them long enough, and they kill you. I seen that you see. I thought that the shark was the baddest thing in the water. I said, man, the shark is the baddest thing in the water, until I seen a killer whale. Pick him up and kill him with one bite. And had him hanging in his mouth like he was like a toy. I said, whoa, what's going on here? I thought the shark was bad. There's always somebody that's bigger for you. There's always somebody. You a bully? I got a bigger bully over here. They said the killer whales is coming into the shores of San Francisco because the sharks is coming around. And the killer whales is just killing them, tossing them, and just picking certain parts out of their body, the liver, or eating this part out of them, and then just leaving the carcass there. That's it. You look in the animal kingdom, you see cheetahs, they'll run down the impala, grab it, put it in the tree, and who comes? The lion. Cheetah be up there. Lion. This is when I first realized that a lion could climb a tree. Lion said, pop, 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 pop. Cheetah go jumping off. Lion got the prey. That's how it works. But God gave us dominion over all of that. We could tame it. We could kill it. Lion is not smart enough, or pride is not smart enough to stop coming at you sometimes. You know what I mean? They don't understand the gunshot. Well, I think now they're a little bit wiser now. We can't even use that theory no more. Because they killing off the wild animals and throwing off the ecosystem. I'm very conscious of those things because God gave us those things. He gave the earth those things to keep things in balance. Because if you got too much of one species growing, then it throws the whole balance of the earth off. So when you got too many deers, you know, they cause a lot of destruction. So you need the mountain lions and stuff like that to keep them in check. But if you killing them off, then they don't have their natural predator to keep that population down. And that's how that works. Let us go.
Into your hands are they delivered. Verse 3. Every moving thing that liveth shall be for food for you. As the green herb have I given you all. Only flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. And at the hand of man, even at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life.
So right here, God has given us the okay to eat flesh.
Right.
Like I told y'all, we knew the difference between clean and unclean animals at this point. Because he's telling Noah, bring the clean animals by sevens and the uncleans by two. Why? Unclean animals have litters. A dog can have up to 10 pups, 11 pups. Clean animals, maybe 2, 3, the most. So you got to bring more of the clean because it's going to take them longer to repopulate. So you want to even out the count because the dog going to have a litter. You know what I'm saying? These animals going to have litter. So this is what's happening here. God has given us the okay to eat these clean animals, but don't eat the blood.
Right.
Because the blood is the life. I'm not going to give you an explanation about if the animal is sick and all that. I'm just going to tell you God said don't eat blood. So if God said don't eat blood, we have to be careful about all the places that we go to eat at. Because every place is not making this preparation. You can't tell me Kennedy Fried Chicken. You can't tell me if you eating steaks from what? Chris Roof or whatever his name is. Steakhouse Roof Chris, that they taking the blood out. Half of the people there that go eat there, they want the blood in it. He said, put it 1 minute on one side and another minute on the other side, and that's the way I want it. They don't soak no blood out no steak. They eat it raw. So God commanded us not to eat blood. And God commanded us that not to murder or kill each other. Because that blood has to be accounted for. Either when an animal does it, that's why when we get the law, it says, if your ox is known to push up on people, right? And he's been known to push up on people in times past, and he kills a man, you shall be killed. Why? Because that blood is accounted for. You just can't spill man's blood. So when you talking all that talk about what you're going to do to people, you better be careful. Because God going to judge you. God is going to judge you. We got to, as Israelites, we're not supposed to be putting our hands on each other. We're not vigilantes. We have a law. We have a Torah that causes us to balance things out. So when somebody do wrong, you just can't go off on the tangent and do what you want to do because there's laws here that govern us. And God said that by man shall your blood be shed. If you shed man's blood. Let's go.
Verse 6. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man.
He made us holy. Right? He gave us the ability to discern between right and wrong. Let us go.
And you, be ye fruitful and multiply. Swarm in the earth and multiply therein.
And multiply therein. Let us go.
And God spoke unto Noach and to his sons with him, saying, As for me, behold, I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the fowl, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with
God
you.
is establishing a covenant with everything that breathes on the earth. Let us go.
Of all that go out of the ark, even every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of the flood.
You hear that? Neither shall all flesh, not a portion of the land. Some portions could get flooded out. You still get floods in Sri Lanka and in India and in places like that. But we're talking about the entire earth will not be flooded out and destroyed by a flood anymore. Let us go.
Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth.
So does the bow in the cloud still come out? Yes. It's called the rainbow. Yes. Today, unfortunately, the rainbow it symbolizes something different. But the rainbow is supposed to be the covenant or the sign of the covenant between God and mankind, that he won't destroy the earth by flood waters anymore. That's why you see it come out when it rains. And it makes us understand that that covenant is still in effect. Let us go.
And it shall come to pass when I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the cloud, that I will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, This is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. And the sons of Noah that went forth from the ark were Shem, and Ham, and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and of these was the whole earth overspread.
The whole earth was overspread from this. So this is where mankind comes from, right? So now you have Shem, which is the Asiatic nations, right? And also nations that are located in parts of North Africa, right? And some Asiatic kingdoms. You got Japheth. This is where the European nations come from, right? The Europeans. And then you got Ham, where a lot of... Now, we confuse Ham and we just think that Ham is only the people that went into Africa. Now, we got different people that went into that continent. It's interchanged. It's not like, for most part, yeah, the descendants of Ham went there. But you got descendants of Ham that are in the Middle East. You got descendants of Ham that are in parts of Europe. You got descendants of Ham that are in Arabia, in Saudi Arabia. You got descendants of Ham and in fact, the descendants of Ham was the first ones that built empires. We confuse Ham with Ham had more than one son. We only concentrate on Canaan because that's the land we went and got. But Ham had Mizraim, which was the ancient Egyptians. Yeah, Put. Cush, which was a great kingdom. We only concentrate on, Canaanites, them nations and dirty. God only told us we couldn't marry them 7 nations of the Canaanite. But if you look all through our history, from Ham comes the Zidonians. I believe even like the Philistines. All of these come from Ham. Yeah, because that's right, they come from Mizraim. And they traveled up. So God didn't tell us that, because when you look at our history, and I'm going to address certain things as we go through the names, we look through our history and we confuse a lot of things. And what they have taught us for years is that these people that are people of color were white people. And that's, when we read the history, we could see that this is impossible. The whole original world was black.
Right.
Was people of color. People from that look like the earth. Now, it's been proven that through adaptation, some people went north, and because the deficiency of vitamin D, their bodies began to stop producing melanin. So the melanin is not needed because you're living in a cave and you're living in a wet and cold place. It's not even a joke, it's true. So now your body adapts, your nose doesn't need to be broad anymore, it becomes spinal. These are scientific facts. I'm not even making this up. The white man came up with this. I didn't make this up. The white man came up with this. So they adapted to whatever it was that they needed to adapt to. And the people that went further south, they got closer to the equator, where the sun is the hottest. You get when you go to Africa, right? People that have not had any contact with so many Caucasians, right? The further you get away from the equator, the lighter the people get. Everybody in Africa is not like charcoal dark. Those are the people that live closer to the equator. But this is the kind of mentality that they give us to hate ourselves. You found some of the quote unquote natives from the Americas, because when we think of America, we only think of North America, the United States. America is North America, Central America, and South America. And there were people that were all in those regions. And when you look at those quote unquote Indians that live closer to the equator, they were dark-skinned people. Because their bodies had to produce that melanin in order to protect them from the sun. So this is how the earth was spread. Let us go.
Verse 20. And Noach the husbandman began and planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunken. And he was uncovered within his tent.
No, man. How could he be righteous or found righteous and get drunk? God, and the Tanakh tells us, it says, don't be over righteous. Right? The man planted a vineyard. Like I told you, he brought some seeds with him. First thing he did, I'm going to make me some wine. Make me something to drink, because I'm grateful to God that I'm alive, my sons is alive, their wives, my family is alive, and I'm going to get nice. He didn't necessarily say, I'm going to get nice, but he got nice along the way. He got a little bit tipsy, he stumbled into his tent. If a person is not becoming harmful to you, and they like a little taste here and there, leave them alone. Moderation is everything. But if a person like they taste here, they like they taste there, leave them alone. Let us go.
And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment, and laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And
what verse you at?
Verse 24.
All right.
And Noach awoke from his wine, and knew what his young son had done unto him, and he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brother.
He didn't curse Ham, he cursed Canaan. Canaan is just one of the sons of Ham. So we get this confusion. We was taught wrong. Oh, Africans is all cursing. Blah, 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 blah. We come from Africa.
Right.
Israel is in Northeast Africa. You can't talk like that. Our forefathers married some of these people. Come on, but you see, as we go along, we advance. Right? Africa was not the original name of the place. It was given that name because of a Roman conqueror or general, Cyprios Africanus. That's where the name came from. But I believe the original name was like Akibulan, one of the original names of Africa. Right. At some point, the whole kingdom of Cush was known as Africa. What we know as Africa today, that was the kingdom of Cush. But all that talk about Africans and this, that, Noah cursed Canaan. He didn't curse Mizraim. He didn't curse the other sons. He didn't curse everybody else after that. He only cursed Canaan. Why? Because the boy went in there, Ham went in there, came out, saw his father's nakedness, right? Now, when we look at the Torah and it speaks about your father's nakedness, is always speaking about your father's wife. So the way that I learned this is that it wasn't necessarily the boy's mother. Noah might have had another wife, right? And when Ham went in there, he saw her nakedness. And in seeing her nakedness, he came out and told his brothers, right? He came out and told his brothers or made sport of it or whatever he did, but it wasn't right in the eyes of God. The other two brothers went in backwards and covered their father's nakedness and came back out. But Noah knew what his son had done. And when he got up, he cursed his grandson. Let us go.
And he said, blessed be Yehovah, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be their servant.
Let Canaan be their servant.
God enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be their servant.
And let Canaan be their servant. So Canaan going to be, and we see that later in the history when we go in there and we possess their land. Let us go.
And Noach lived after the flood 350 years. And all the days of Noach were 950 years, and he died.
And Noah died 950 years. So now we see here. So when you look at the chart that I have, I think Noah lived all the way up to, well, Shem. Noah lived all the way up to about, he at least got to see Peleg, I believe. Peleg. But Shem got to see Abraham. No, Terah. And if you look at the chart, right here, the chart, if you follow the chart will let you know, right? So Shem got to see Abraham, I believe. Shem came all the way up to Abraham. He got to see at least Abraham. So he got to see generations after generations after generation. He's not even mentioned anymore, but you know he was there. Because Shem got grandkids that died before him. He got great grandkids that died before him. He was just outliving everybody. He was outliving everybody. And that was like almost like a blessing coming off that ark. It's like he almost had that blessing coming off that because he got to see all the generations all the way up to Abraham, which is the progenitor of the nation of Israel. Right. So Shem got to see that. Let us go.
Chapter 10. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Yavan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tiras.
All right, so there's going to be a lot, so I don't want to hold up y'all with this stuff. That's why I kind of gave y'all the list, right, of all the names and everybody. I didn't get to do Shem. I'm leaving that for y'all. Y'all do Shem. Y'all find out who are the generations of Shem. So it's a lot of names. It's a lot of, there's a connection with the names and the people who they are today. That's something that we don't have enough time to go through it. I would go through it, but we don't have enough time. So we're going to skip down and go down to chapter 11.
Chapter 11, verse 1, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another.
No, hold on. Before we do that, let's go to chapter 10. I want to talk about yeah. Yeah, verse 6. Go from verse 6. Descendants of Ham.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mitzrayim, and Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sabta, and Ra'amah, and Sabteka. And the sons of Ra'amah, Sheba, and Dedan, and Cush begot Nimrod. And he began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Wherefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before Yahweh.
Nimrod is what we call the first emperor that's acknowledged in the book. Right? Because then it speaks about his kingdom. Let's go. And the beginning, verse 10. And the beginning of his kingdom.
And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar.
So this is all in Mesopotamia. All that, what we know as the Fertile Crescent, right? I was speaking to my brother, Chief Abdel, and he was saying that Nimrod might have been, if you look at the historic fact, and you look at Narmer, right? This is his theory, right? That Narmer might have been Nimrod, because Narmer was a descendant from Mesopotamia who first went before pre-dynastic Egypt, and he ruled Egypt also. He was pre-dynastic, so Egyptians have the what is it? You could help me out. They got the old kingdom, the middle kingdom, and the new kingdom. Or you get to the new kingdom, that's when you get the Greeks going in there and start rearranging things and doing things sloppily. But when you got the old kingdom and the middle kingdom, right? This is still Egypt being black, being people of color, right? That's what's happening. So Narmer, is believed to be Nimrod, right? Because he conquered Egypt, and he conquered places. He conquered from Mesopotamia and all these places that is named here, Nineveh, all these different places. He was a conqueror, right? So when we see these things, we have to acknowledge, say he was a mighty hunter before Yah. Even God acknowledged them, right? And during this time, these guys were he was powerful, right? He was powerful. Did I skip over the Tower of Babel? Oh, that's it. No, that's chapter 11. Go to chapter 11.
Chapter 11, verse 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Come, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Come, let us build us a city, even a tower, with its top in heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men built. And Yahweh said, Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is what they begin to do. And now nothing will be withholden from them, which they propose to do.
So I believe that Nimrod is still at the forefront of this, because he was powerful. So now at this point, they want to build a tower to reach that heaven. And what is shown to us here by what God is showing us is that in unity there's strength. God said, now they probably wouldn't get to really do that, but the thought and the mentality is what God saw. Y'all want to be up in the heavens. So now we have to think about what humanity does today, what mankind does today by sending all types of stuff into the heavens. Yeah. The other day, they tried to send something into the space station and it didn't work out. We seen, I remember in, what was it, about 86, 87, when it was like a black lady was trying to go up there, right? They were sending like the first black person up there, and the rocket ship exploded. They showed it to everybody in school. Yep. You sitting down there waiting, you like this, yeah, black lady's going up to space. And you like, what happened? It blew up. So we understand that they keep punching holes into the atmosphere, putting satellites up there. These things are not really for us to do. Said, the earth is Yahweh's throne, He's saying the earth is the footstool that he gave unto the sons of men. This is where we're supposed to dwell, on the earth. We're not supposed to be all out into space, into the atmosphere. That stuff will cost us our lives. Let us go. That's right. The secret things belong unto the Most High. Let's go.
Come, let us go down in there, confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So Yahweh scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city.
And this led us, is like Chief Benjamin said, he got his angelic forces, his beings. He said, let's go down there. Most High God sent his agents amongst us. We don't know when somebody is sitting amongst us. He sent his agents amongst us and said, we're going to confound their language. And this is where you get the beginning of different dialects, where people now confused. They don't understand each other. That's why some languages sound similar. You look at Latin, right? Latin, if you speak Latin, if you speak Portuguese, I could kind of understand you because my first language is Spanish. So you speaking Portuguese to me, slow it down a little. And I could pick out some words. And I could tell you what the person is saying. You speak to me in Italian, slow it down a little. And I could pick out some of the words that you're saying to me and I could figure out what you're saying to me. You speak to me in French or something, I might be able to pick out some words that you're saying to me.
Right.
That's how language became, people started to get split and then they started to build their own dialect of the language. They started building their own dialect of the language, and that's how the confusion came in, because this portion might say, this side over here might say this, or might say that this way, and then over here is saying it this way, and now it's confused. So God had to take away their unity in order for them not to defile themselves, because you trying to go into heaven, that means you trying to be like God. Let us go. I hear you, little man. I hear you.
Therefore was the name of it called Babel. Because Yahweh did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did Yahweh scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth.
Babel means confusion, right? Babylon means confusion, right? We live in, this is symbolic Babylon. We living in the midst of confusion. Let us go.
These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arpachshad 200 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begot Arpachshad 500 years and begot sons and daughters.
Sons and daughters.
And Arpachshad lived 530 years and begot Shelah. And Arpachshad lived after he begot Shelah 403 years and begot sons and daughters. And Shelah lived 30 years and begot Eber. And Shelah lived after he begot Eber 403 years and begot sons and daughters.
Sons and daughters.
And Eber lived 430 years and begot Peleg. And Eber lived after he begot Peleg 430 years and begot sons and daughters.
Sons and daughters.
And Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. And Peleg lived after he begot Reu 209 years and begot sons and daughters. And Reu lived 230 years and begot Seru. And Reu lived after he begot Seru 207 years and begot sons and daughters. And Seru lived 30 years and begot Nahor. And Seru lived after he begot Nahor 200 years and begot sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 29 and 20 years and begot Terah. And Nahor lived after he begot Terah 190 years and begot sons and daughters.
Sons and daughters.
And Terah lived 70 years and begot Avram, Nahor, and Haran.
And Haran.
Now
Let's go.
These are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Avram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot. And Haran died in the presence of his father Terah in the land of his nativity in Ur of the Chaldeans.
So he died. Sometimes children die before parents. And this was the reality. And this is Avram's brother. But he already had his seed, which was Lot, right? And this is who remains. Let us go.
And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai. And the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and the father of Iscah. And Sarai was barren, she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And there they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. So this was the area that we call the East. And as we go into next week, and I believe more Yiftach will be doing that portion, we will see the journey of our great father Abraham as he begins to journey and as he begins to go into the land of Canaan, which God told him to go into. So now there's one last thing that I want my brother Chief Meku to read. It's talking about the Noachide laws, right? So now this is the 7 laws of Noah. right? This is what a lot of the European Jews tell us. Oh, you know, all you got to do is keep the Noachite laws and you be all right. Right? And it's basically 7 laws. Let's read and let's see what it says.
The 7
Start
Noachite laws.
from the previous page.
Okay.
Right below D-Don.
Accordingly, any non-Jew...
No, go up one more.
Okay. The 7 laws of Noah,
Just don't read the parentheses.
also referred to as the Noahide laws or the Noachide laws from the Hebrew pronunciation of Noah, are a set of imperatives which, according to the Talmud, were given by God as a binding set of laws for the children of Noah, that is all of humanity.
That's all of humanity. Let's go.
Accordingly, any non-Jew who adheres to these laws because they were given by Moses is regarded as a righteous Gentile, and is assured of a place in the world to come.
Olam Abba. Let's go.
The final reward of the righteous.
So it's basically a Gentile, a non-quote-unquote Jew. They're only required to keep 7 laws of Noah, right? The Most High God tells us in the Torah, he says, if someone comes in the midst of you and adheres to the way that you're living, walks in the commandments of the Most High God, and accepts Torah, he says you must treat him as one that is homeborn. He said he got to keep all the laws, statutes, and commandments that you do. He can't keep half of them. The only thing he cannot be over you is a ruler over you. So when they tell people that you only have to keep the 7 Noachite laws so that you could come to the world of to come and the world of peace, that sounds far-fetched to me. That sounds crazy to me, because when we read these Noachite laws, let's read them.
The 7 Noachide laws as traditionally enumerated are the following: not to worship idols, not to curse God, to establish courts of justice, not to commit murder, not to commit adultery or sexual immorality, not to steal, not to eat flesh torn from a living animal.
What about not to eat unclean animals? Right. What about keeping the Shabbat day? Right. That was already established. Right. You see, when you begin to add to God's law, this is what you come out with. Now, when we get to the conversation of Talmud, some of the Talmud was written by some of our forefathers, but it does not supersede Torah. Torah is what the Most High God ordered us to keep, not anything else. So when you start making things up and start misleading people, then you have to answer to God. Right. Because we cannot bring, if a Caucasian person walks in here and wants to do Torah, guess what we got to teach them? Torah. We can't teach them half of the Torah. We can't teach them a tenth of the Torah. We got to teach them all the Torah. And they got to sit down and they got to learn the Torah and they got to live by Torah. Because the Torah was made for the world. If it says it's going to be a house of prayer for all people, you think people are just going to come back doing what they want to do? You think people are going to come back just doing 7 laws? If it's going to be a kingdom of Yah? So how do you teach people that they only got to do 7 laws and they're going to be all right? So that means that in the future, someone that's not an Israelite could eat pork, can break the Shabbat. So how would it be a kingdom of Yah if you could do all that? Why should we be priests to the nations if they could do whatever they want to do? What is the necessity of us being priests to the nations? So this is something wrong that they teach the people. This is not righteous at all. This is not right at all. You have to teach people the whole Torah. That's what it's about. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I told y'all I wasn't going to go past 2 o'clock. Thank you the Most High God for this day. Thank you the Most High God for my life. And I hope and pray that Yah will bless us all. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You going to close it up?